there, it's Kat and this is Brews and Reviews. So today I'm going to be telling you guys about the best books that I read in 2019. These are not books that exclusively came out in 2019. I actually don't think any of them came out in 2019, but these are the ones that have stuck with me the most and that I would go, yes, that is a fantastic book that I read in 2019. So I'm just going to go through the list with you guys. There were a lot on this list. I actually had to trim some out because I thought I'm going to be rambling at you guys for ages and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try and keep my thoughts to a minimum because I know I've talked about a lot of these books a lot on this channel. I definitely will have raved about them in my wrap-up, so if you want to hear more about these, I mean, check out some of the wrap-ups from the last year because, yeah, I would have gone on for ages about how great they are, so there's your chance. So I'm going to start off with The Knights of Dark Renown by David Gemmell. I think it's no surprise to anyone that a book by my favourite author has ended up on this list, because of course it did. This book's about a fantasy realm with some knights and some evil knights, and you know, fighting for the good of the people to stop a genocide, and there's some surprise paranormal elements to this. If you've seen my reaction review of this, then I definitely spoiled that, but yeah, it was good. There was paranormal things. And I just really love how David Gemmell writes misfits. There are some characters who are completely unlikable in this book, but then they do good things. So it's like, are you good? Are you not good? There's a whole moral debate there, and I'm really intrigued by that. So I definitely think it's worth a read. Trigger warnings for suicide and rape, but it is a fantastic book, and I will never not love a David Gemmell book, so. Next up, I want to talk about an entire series that I read in 2019, and that is the Nevernight Chronicles by Jay Kristoff. Obviously, I've gone on about this quite a lot. I fucking love this series. It is an adult fantasy that follows an assassin. The first book is set in an assassin school, and the second book is about gladiators, and the third book is just a big culmination of all the shit going down, and it involves things like gods and wider elements that are just, it's just so cool. I just love it so much. I got so into it. I think God's Grave is my favourite book in this series, and I just love Mia and Mr. Kindly. Yeah, I have such an affection for this series. There's also a slight love triangle in this, and I didn't hate it. I loved it, and the end made me cry for a solid 10 minutes. I actually had video footage of me crying, which I was going to make into a video where I just talked about the Nevernight Chronicles, but I'll just insert a clip of it here so you guys can see me crying because it's just sad. It's just a whole sad time, but I enjoyed it. It was a great end. I really, really rate this series, and I would, you know, if you guys like dark adult fantasy that is quite grim at times, then definitely pick this one up. And you don't mind sarcastic humour. There's a lot of sarcastic humour, especially in the footnotes. I know it's quite hard for a lot of people to get into, but I loved it. The next series that I want to talk about is the Illuminate files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. Yeah, I know I'm holding up Gemina. I lent Illuminate to my friend, and I still don't have it back, so I'm going to hold up the second book in the series, which is actually kind of fitting, because I read Illuminate in 2018. Oh my god, years, maths. So I read Illuminate back in 2018, and I picked up Gemina and Obsidia, the following two books, in 2019. I did a reread of Illuminate as well, but I didn't read the entire series this year, but it's just so good. I fell in love with this series. I mean, crazy AI and space plague is really all of the things that you had to say to get me to read these ones. And then this one went in like a different turn with like Marines. Space Marines always remind me of Aliens, which is my favourite of the Alien films, and that was never going to go wrong. So yeah, I just really enjoyed this series. I think the mixed media is fantastic. I also think the audiobooks are fantastic because I have actually read this series twice now, and I listened to it after reading them. So the first time I ever experienced these books, I read them, and then the second time I listened to them on audiobook, and I loved that. It was such a great way to do it, and yeah, I've just really enjoyed reading this, and I'm really sad that there's not any more, and I still haven't been able to get a hands on Memento, which I really, really want to read, but yeah, that was a limited thing, wasn't it? So I'll just be sad about that on my own, because Aiden's my favourite, and I love him, so. Next up, I want to talk about Sweet Pea by C.J. Skuse. The book follows Rhiannon, who was a lone survivor of a traumatic incident that happened to her when she was a child, and she's suffered for it as an adult. Every chapter in this book starts with Rhiannon compiling a list of the people that she wants to kill, be it the neighbour that cut her off as she was trying to pull out of the driveway, to the guy that was like a mass rapist who she hates. And I don't know, she's weirdly relatable if you have any sort of anger issues. Because she's just like, she's kind of horrible, to be honest. She's not a nice lady, and I don't know, but she's relatable and she's got a very dark sense of humour, which appeals to me, but she's also a murderer, which doesn't appeal to me. Just throw that out there, clear that up. But yeah, it's good. It's a really good book. And if you like dark thrillers, this is definitely one to pick up, because it was great. Next up is The Unit by Nini Holmquist. The Unit is a Swedish science fiction book set in a world where when you turn 55 as a woman or 60 as a man and you haven't had any children, then you get taken to the unit where you are genetically experimented on. So a lot of these experiments can be things like, oh, just go on this exercise regime, we want to see how it affects people of this age, and doing that sort of thing. Some of them could be like, we're going to put you on a diet plan, and then some of them could be like, we're going to test this new cancer treatment, which is going to give you brain damage and then kill you. So it's like horrible. This book is so depressing, but it has stuck with me. I can't describe how impactful this was, because I'm like, yeah, it's just horrible. There are a lot of different things that happen, and it's sad. It's just really sad. And yeah, so if you want like a impactful, sad book, then this is one to pick up. But it was definitely one of my favourite books of the year. It's one that I've been thinking about ever since I read it, and one that I definitely want to continue to recommend. Coming as no surprise to anyone, Eliza Ren Her Monsters has also made it onto this list. So this book was written by Francesca Zappia, and it is about a girl with anxiety who has a giant webcomic, and a guy starts at her school who turns out to be one of her biggest fans, but nobody knows that she is the author of the webcomic. So yeah, it's just very cute, but I like the anxiety representation in this. It reminded me very much of my own little fan girl days back in the day. Who am I kidding? Back in the day? Still a bit now? I don't know. I related to Eliza so much, and I just really like this book. I've read it twice now in 2019 because I loved it so much. And it was a really quick read for me as well, so I just want as many people as possible to read this book. I know most of BookTube already has read it, but like if you haven't, please read it. It's great. Now I want to talk about 13 by Steve Kavanaugh. This book has been making its rounds on the thriller side of BookTube. Obviously it is a thriller, and it's basically about a murder that has taken place, and the serial killer that has done it is actually on the jury. So there's a whole like mystery of which juror actually is it, because you know that they're on the jury, and how are they going to stop themselves from being found out. But it's also a legal thriller, which isn't something that I've read before this, and I'm like really interested to pick up more of Steve Kavanaugh's works because it's a different take on a thriller. I'm used to a lot of like police procedurals and going at crime like that way, or like Medical Examiner, but never really from a legal sense, and I've enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to. It's definitely one I'd recommend. Next up, we have Nyxia Unleashed by Scott Rankin. So this is the second book in the Nyxia trilogy, and I'm not going to go on too much about what this one's actually about because it's a sequel, but basically the first book follows a group of like very varied kids from all over the globe who are from underprivileged backgrounds, and they're on basically a competition to see who can go down to this alien planet to mine this substance called Nyxia. And in this book, they arrive at the planet and things happen. Many things that I wasn't expecting to happen, but things happen. And I really enjoyed this one, the twists and the turns, and I was like, I need to read the next one right now. I read this book as a hardback. I don't read hardbacks that often, but if I'm sitting here reading it as a hardback, then you know I love this book. So pick up this series, please. It's great. And very diverse, very, very diverse, and I really enjoyed that. There's some LGBT rap in this that like sort of you don't really see in the first one because it follows characters that you don't really know about, but it's so normalized and I love it. So yeah, great book. Next I want to talk about In an Absent Dream by Shawna McGuire. So this is the fourth book in the Wayward Children series, and I think it might have been my favourite. That one and the first one I really, really enjoyed. I also really enjoyed the second one. It was basically just the third one I didn't enjoy as much. Candyland is not my idea of fun. Let's just say that. I think that this one appealed to me so much because the world is something that I would really enjoy. It's like Goblin Market-esque, and that to me is just great because the rules of this world are highly based on logic, and that's kind of how my mind works. I am very, very logic based, so I was like, I totally understand this makes loads of sense, and I'm like, I would love to go to this world. So yeah, basically I just really enjoyed it because I could like really, really get into the world and think, and I could see the attraction there, and it was just really good. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about this one. I just really enjoyed it, and it really made me happy. Next I want to talk about East of West, which is a graphic novel that features death, you know, death personified in a western type setting. It's like sci-fi western, and oh, it's just so good. Just make death personified in everything, please, because I love it so much. And death sort of has like a love story with another character, and it has the other three horsemen of the apocalypse who are assholes, but they're like kids, but they're still assholes, and it's just so good, and I need to read the next one as soon as possible. It is a series that I am so glad I started. I need the next one. I need it. I need it. So there we have it. Those were my favourite books of 2019. I have probably forgotten some of them. Probably most definitely forgotten some of them. But, you know, this video has a limited amount of space, and I didn't want to bore you guys with all me rambling about books I loved. But if you've read any of these ones, let me know. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!